Sadnam, everyone. Rabindra and Myra here. We're back at it. This is our second episode, and we have a really fun announcement.
We are revealing the name of the podcast. We were sitting with it since the last episode we released, and the name is...
Portal to Bloom.
Sounds quite fitting. I like it. Welcome to Portal to Bloom.
The podcast. So today we want to keep these podcasts short and sweet. We want to have specific topics for each one so that we can kind of go back and dive into different ideas and things. So today, what's been coming up for us and what we want to talk about is just reminding ourselves how far we've come and reminding ourselves how talented we are and reminding you, the listener, of the immense challenges and changes of the world and all that we've all been facing.
Yeah, it's quite... it's a very much expanded sense of awareness, and it's an expanded turn of events that we're all trying to navigate in.
Yeah, and as entrepreneurs, as parents, just looking back at the immensity of, we just went through a 2-year pandemic, and lockdowns and recessions, and now we're facing, there's all kinds of interesting things that have been going on, and even to this moment. But before we dive in, I want to ask, what are you grateful for right now, Myra?
I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for this life. I'm grateful for our life together. I'm grateful for the lives of both our children and the others to come. But yeah, I'm really grateful for this breath.
Yeah, for me, I'm feeling just really grateful for the path that we've found, even through all the redirections that we've taken because of what's happening in the world and in our lives. I feel like we've been redirected to a very blessed space, specifically with our children. So I'm super grateful for, the space that our children are in right now. Our daughter's at her first field trip. We just saw pictures of her planting sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
And playing with bunnies,
feeding baby goats.
What a beautiful future, and what a beautiful thing to witness. And then dropping off our son at school this morning. Every day we drop him off. He's 4 years old, and he has a little bit of separation anxiety, or maybe a lot, but
yeah, he wants to be close. He wants us to stay close. He wants to be able to come and fill himself up in the trials and the tribulations that it is to be away from us. So,
and it's such a sweet thing. When we drop him off, he sits in the window and just waves at us.
Until he can't no longer see us.
And then all the other kids kind of go behind him, and then it's like this choir of kids waving. But he starts it, and they're all like this, and it's so cute. So really grateful for that. And I think in times when they feel a little bit more complex or a little bit more challenging, for me it's always about taking things to a more simple space, and like what you said, grateful for the air, grateful for this morning, grateful for breakfast, grateful for a beautiful day, grateful for our togetherness, and grateful for just getting through all that we've gone through and being able to be here, And so diving into this conversation, I've been talking to a few different entrepreneurs. We've been talking to parents. We've made it a very important thing right now to stay in touch with people because during pandemic and during the last few cycles, it was very isolating, I think, for everybody.
It was very divided, and it was very, a lot of the energy that was, I guess, taking up more precedent was an energy based in fear and the unknown, and sometimes that can be very limiting.
Yeah, and I think, exactly. And at the same time, right now we have an opportunity to stay connected and to check in on everybody, where everyone's going through different challenges. And so I've just simply been texting friends one after the other and just sending positive notes and trying to connect in person with more people
Same.
Zoom, all these other things won't cut it. Right now, we need this one-to-one in-person thing. And the theme I've been seeing, even with the most advanced, like the biggest entrepreneurs, and even all the different levels of people, everyone's faced challenges. And I wanted you, the listener, and us right here to take note of like, wow, like we've come a far way. Like it is amazing that we made it this far. I remember, when the pandemic first started, and we were like, okay, wait, all the Canadians were leaving Bali. Justin Trudeau was like, hey, all the Canadians head home. And we're like, no, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, but you have to remember we were like in fresh baby nest.
Yeah, we just had a baby hero at the time. And yeah, we were in nesting mode, and there was no way we were going anywhere. But on the business side, on the entrepreneur side, we're like, whoa, all the airplanes got shut down. So supply chain was shut down, and somehow we navigated supply chains being shut down. It was through a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend that we found that there was cargo planes leaving Bali. And somehow we found a way to put our stuff on these cargo planes and get them out and shipped. And it's like, what a miracle,
Truly,
and so I think
our customers don't know this,
yeah,
that we definitely had to go through some hoops.
It was immense. And I think everyone, being here now, like we have faced headwinds like no other time in our history, or at least in our time as being parents and entrepreneurs. The wind, going in the direction has really moved us in ways that we just never imagined. We actually didn't plan on staying and living in Bali, but the headwinds shifted our direction. And in that shift was one of the greatest blessings of our lifetime, is to be able to call this place home.
Well, that's the beauty about storms, is that storms really are propagators of seeds, right? They spread the seeds around, and we were one of those seeds that got spread here.
Yeah, and so we faced more resistance than ever before. And even I think right now, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of parents, because of how difficult things have been. And also, like, if you look at the last 6 months, even this year, we had, 6 retrogrades, all the planets in retrograde at one point.
The eclipse season.
Followed by eclipse season.
Which is more to come, by the way.
Yeah. And so, a lot of people feel like they're failing, or a lot of people feel like things aren't moving. I know even with us, we're building a new shop, and it's like, wow, we're building a new shop. That's quite a blessing in itself. But also at the same time, I feel like a failure, or sometimes I feel like, oh, it's going so slow, and what am I doing? How am I sabotaging this? But really, in that conversation, and even in conversations you may be having at home, it's like, yeah, but you're making it through. It's a blessing, and even the slowdown is a redirection, and it gives you time and pause to create new things.
Yeah, you took that seed and you are nurturing it, you're guiding it to grow. And yeah, maybe it's not, showing up or opening up in the time frame that you've, created in your own timeline of your mental projection, but for the sake of taking action to actually plant that seed and to actually nourish it and nurture it and guide it. Trust in the evolution, trust in your process, trust in your work, trust that fruit from that seed is going to be so worth it. So satiating, even though we can't see it right now, because it's almost like birth, we're in the contraction phase and it feels like you're dying. And once you start crowning, and that's when the intensity gets a little bit more profound, right? And if you just allow nature to, collaborate with you, or spirit collaborate with you, or however you relate to the macro or to infinity, then you can lean into that support. You can lean into the idea that you're not doing it alone. That we're kind of, it's a conscious conception that is really rooted in community sometimes, right?
And as a reminder, again, this is all about, like, these have not been a normal set of challenges, and yet you're still here, yet we're still here, yet we're still trying, and it's this headwind that caused us to take new directions, all of these things, these challenging moments, take us out of our comfort zone, and it's only when you're in your uncomfort zone when the impossible or the impossible becomes possible, and things we did not imagine that it would even be possible to be living in Bali with our family. We just came for a trip.
Yeah, we were
And-
just going to be here for 6 months.
And then boom, the impossible,
4
the
years.
challenges came, and now looking back, all of those challenges were blessings. So now look at the challenges you're facing right now. For sure, 6 months from now, we're going to be looking back at this time, thinking, "Wow, what a blessing!"
What a blessing, yeah.
You know?
What a gift.
Yeah. So we're still here. We're still succeeding. We're still winning, even though we may not feel like we are. We are, we've been stacking skills. We've been stacking strength. I think that, the retrogrades and the eclipses really helped us build strength and stamina this year, because it was just like cycle wave after wave of things to deal with, and the lessons that we learned, the wisdom and the experience that we've gained.
Yeah, and lots of pivoting too, having the courage to pivot, having the courage to put it on reverse for a moment, right? To course correct.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a big stretch.
Yeah, and that is really the call. In what areas of your life do you need to make a pivot right now? What is these challenges, these headwinds that you're facing? What's really obvious to you? What needs to change? And for us, we've made like monumental changes in almost every area of our life, and they haven't been comfortable.
And still more to come.
Yeah, we're still kind of in the midst of an incredible change of where we're living and
Yeah.
businesses and where we're living, all kinds of things. And yeah, I've felt anxiety for the first time in my life. I did not know how to manage it. I do yoga, I do Kundalini, I do all kinds of practices.
Well, you didn't even know what it was, to be
Yeah.
real. Like, you had no idea what was happening because he's never experienced what anxiety
Yeah, and also I think
is.
in the work that we've been doing over the past few years and with the headwinds and the lessons we've learned, we've also opened up in such a way where we feel more. And what's happening in the Middle East, like, we feel it a lot more than we felt it like in the past. It's really real. I mean, social media brings it to the forefront.
I think also because if I'm speaking out of line, do correct me. We've both come from places where we understand the struggle to survive. And now being in a place where the thriving has given us the opportunity to really now remove the barriers, remove the boundaries, remove the layers that have kind of encaged our hearts towards, that struggle, has made us more sensitive, has made us more aware of just the suffering, right? Just the darkness. And
and that's the reality of life. That's the reality of living on the planet Earth, is that there's equal light to dark, right? There's the yin and yang, and it's a planet with gravity, and it's a downward force. So we have to work hard to build our way back up. And yet here we are. We've made it through so much. Really, like I know, like it feels challenging, like husband to wife. Like I know right now it feels challenging.
It feels challenging because it's almost like you start to doubt, am I doing the right thing? Am I, and then even when you want to, we call it, spirit counsel. We want to counsel with spirit to see, like, is this in accordance with, the higher version of myself or the better version of myself, and taking those risks to make those leaps and trusting that I'm going to be caught. Spirit's going to catch me. This is going to be good. In that goodness, you are going to be met with that same level of darkness. And to sustain that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of faith, and it takes a lot of
trust, right? And so if you look at
yeah.
everything that has ever happened in your life, in the moment it feels like a tragedy, right?
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin said, life in the moment seems like a tragedy, but in the end it's all a comedy. You know what I mean? And in the end,
romantic comedy. Rom-com.
And right now, that's really it. Is like every relationship that didn't work out, blessing. Every project that didn't work out, blessing. Every business that didn't work out, blessing. You know what I mean? Even like customers that are really upset because of this and that, blessing, because we learn, you know what I mean? And we learn, we grow, and it prepares us for what's next. So please pat yourself on the back wherever you're at. In
You're
hard
doing
times,
great.
you found a solution.
We're doing great. The kids are all right, you know, even though it might not seem to be in other parts of the world.
Yeah, you are not a bad entrepreneur. You're not a bad parent. We've been facing an anomaly of challenges and headwinds and changing times, and yet it's making us create new plans and new directions. Like I said again, like what a direction that the headwinds brought us to, Bali. And I'm just so curious and trusting that whatever's happening now is going to lead us to something even greater, you know. And opportunity is created when old opportunities begin to fade. So even us sitting here with you on YouTube, on podcast, you know, we wouldn't have done this in our comfort zone, you know, but we just feel like, you know, sharing just over email, sharing just over Instagram, sharing over just our products and the things that we've been creating just wasn't enough. We wanted to kind of get a conversation going with you and get this out.
We want to connect.
Yeah. And so these opportunities come when we're pushed out of our comfort zone. So welcome. We are no longer in your comfort zone.
Yeah. No, this is quite a stretch.
So we have to slow down, you know, see what we've been facing and really ask, like, how am I? Where am I?
Yeah. And to be honest with what is being revealed in that honesty, and having the courage to do something about it if it's not in accordance with your destiny, if it's not in accordance for what your big mission is here, or what your vision is for your why.
Yeah, and take a moment to acknowledge how talented you are. Take a moment to acknowledge how you have been able to pivot and make moves, and acknowledge how beautiful your future could be.
And how brave you are.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bravery that comes with that.
You are a winner. You've come here to win. We've come here to succeed. We've come here to be these divine royal expressions of ourselves.
I like that.
No, we've made it really far, and really we wanted this chat to be about recognizing how far you've come. And so maybe you could take a note, you know, take a moment to diarize and write down, wow, like let's look at some areas of our lives and how far we've come, you know, like for example, even just looking at our kitchen alone, you know, how far has our kitchen come? You know, we have a farmer, you know, bringing us food. You know, how blessed are we that we get farm fresh foods, you know, and
it's a novelty. I mean, I would have never conceptualized that as being a possibility other than me going to the farmer's market and going and, you know, doing it in that way. But
yeah, and you know, we have, and the other thing that we've added in the kitchen is that we actually have breakfast every single day, you know, and that seems like such a small thing. However,
but it's big because it's a relationship to food that has healed. You know, it's a relationship to nourishment that has healed. It's a relationship to ritual, you know, and how to have substance.
Yeah, when you
able
digest,
to metabolize.
when you have breakfast in the morning, you start up those engines, you start that fire, and your fire also eats all the stress. It eats all of that. And when you eat together as a family, the children see, wow, my parents are eating, so I must be eating. So, you know, even in those subtle levels of in my kitchen, wow, I've progressed, you know, in my spiritual quest, you know, wow, I light a fire outside, you know, and I make peace with the fire. Once a month, I play the drums, you know, I play the flute. There's so much evolution, or just personally, I just feel more myself than I've ever felt.
Yeah, well, they say the heart is in the kitchen. The heart of the family is in the kitchen.
So look at all the areas, your kitchen, your spiritual life, even our physical life. Like, wow, I'm even though the last few weeks I have been doing different things. I haven't been at the gym or doing the physical hardcore yoga, but I've been doing a lot of different practices to keep me calm and grounded. And wow, I have those skills, you know? So again, there's so many things. Is there anything that stands out for you? Like how far you've come that you're proud of?
Yeah, well, just being able to steep in some of the wisdom in Zen Buddhism, and kind of that's been the origin of what brought me to yoga. Really, if I look back at, being a kid and having my dad read me stories about, the Rinpoches, and, it's like steeping into that and bringing my tea practice more to the forefront. And yeah, it's been such a gift to be able to share it, and now to be able to teach it, because I've embodied it now, because it's become an extension of me, feels like such a gift. And watching my children, they've been around it all their lives, and Soleil is just like, she understands it, and she understands the concept of the stillness, she understands the concept of the quieting the mind, she understands the concept of the offering, and the concept of offering a bowl to spirit, to sitting with spirit, and it's just been such a gift to be able to role model that. Today I met a woman, one of our friends, she's a mom, kids go to a different school, but we get on really well, and she just said something around the lines of something that we always hear, the kids aren't going to listen to what you say, they're only going to listen to what you do, they're only going to mimic what you do. So we were talking about the concept of gratitude, like, I find my kids aren't as grateful as I wish for them to be. And I remember you telling me something about, like, it's not that they're not grateful, they just don't understand disappointment. They don't understand what the process of being disappointed looks like, right? They didn't get the thing that they wanted, right? So how can they have gratitude when that needs to be embodied more? So really walking that embodied gratitude, walking that embodied, Zen Buddhist mind, of course, with some remix of the modern day household yogi. Of course, we're not, Zen monks out in a cave anymore, but having that ability to be the good that we want to see, especially in front of our little ones, is such a gift, to be able to have those tools and to watch them kind of surpass you a little bit. Like, there's such a gift in that.
Yeah, we often get photos from our teachers of our kids meditating, and we just got a photo of our daughter planting, a seed, and it's such a sweet potato, my little sweet potato.
She is a sweet potato.
Yeah, and I want to recognize how far you've come, husband to wife. When we arrived,
they truly see us the clearest.
When there's we don't fully understand women. We try, or we realize that.
Thank you for that.
We come from different worlds. We're different.
We're different species.
The way we see things are very different, but at the end of the day, we come together. But yeah, no. When we first arrived in Bali, Myra was dealing with a hypothyroid issue. Right, you were like almost pale. You know what I mean? When we got here, we were like, oh my God, we just had a baby 3-4 months in. Canada winter was kicking in. Literally the day we were leaving, snow was falling on the ground, and we were like, we
are
out.
Bye.
Yeah. But when we got here, you've been doing things. You've been fasting. You did like a 21-day fast. You did 7 days with no food. You did crazy flushes. You did 5 or 6 fasts in a row with this doctor, this gut biome doctor we met here named Dr. Raphael.
Yes, which I can't wait for us to share his teachings with you.
And that was it was a game changer. And then from there, we started going to a gym only for the spa.
Only for the recovery, yes.
Only for the sauna and the cold bath, because we heard cold bath was good for you at the time. And so we were doing sauna, cold bath. And then all these people from the gym started coming through. And somehow we got convinced. We made friends with a couple of the people that happened to be trainers there, and we joined in. And I recognized, like, the amount of work you put in. She was working hard with these trainers for a long time until you really got over that hump. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah.
And it's
that was hard work. That was really hard. Physically hard, emotionally hard, mentally hard.
Yeah, and it gave you so much strength. And it's still, even though it's not a regular thing at the moment, in this season, in this very moment, we carry that with us. So look at how far you've come in that way,
It's in me, yes.
Yeah.
And also coming out the other end, I've been breastfeeding and nursing my children for 6 years straight. my daughter Soleil all the way till she was 4. And with the whole pregnancy of my son, she still nursed up until he was born. And yeah, and then 2 years after that. And my son, he just finished in July. And I feel like I've been kind of running on this, like anywhere between 45 to 68% of my own vitality, of my own energy, where I'm not sustaining life outside of me, which of course you'll have your input, but it was my choice. I'm not playing victim here. I wanted to do that. I was here for that. I signed up for that. And now coming out of that on the other side, people have known me here only running at that 48 to 68%. Now I'm coming in hot around 88, sometimes
Ooh la la.
98%.
Look how far you've come.
And it's like, who this be? You know, who is that? And it feels good. It feels good to. I mean, this is why we're here on this podcast, I think, is because I have the energy to like, let's do this, babe.
Yeah.
I'm the hype girl.
Yeah. And at the same time, you know, stepping forward in a way that where you can still keep some of the energy. You know, we came to this planet to gain energy. You know, we came here to learn, gain wisdom, right? And so we do that through persistence. We do that through being consistent with our practice and being consistent with our breakfast and consistent with all the things. There's so many distractions that are coming. There's so many headwinds as parents, entrepreneurs, the challenges that we all are facing, and and yet we find new ways. And we wanted to share today that, you know, when you've been redirected, or when the challenges are there and you're kind of making a shift, or you're like, maybe I should make a major change, and maybe you really should right now, and sometimes that becomes, not sometimes, I think in every single time, that becomes a better direction.
Yeah, there's a block through every way.
There's a way through every block.
There's a way through every block. And through that, you're able to, you know, even though you don't want to bulldoze towards that wall and keep going, keep hitting, you can kind of take that bird's eye view perspective and look around for new ways to get around that block.
So reframe blocks as redirections.
Yeah.
You know, reframe, you know, pivots as your prayers being answered. That, wow, there's a change happening and my prayer has been answered and I'm following the call, you know. And following the call really comes from being able to listen to our intuition, being clear and being able to discern, like, actually, this is my intuition and this is the chaotic whirlwind of the world, right? This is actually my true voice. And that takes time. That takes slowing down. That takes just being patient with ourselves and trusting.
And it's practice. To have that patient to self takes a lot of practice. And sometimes you don't want to hear it. You know, sometimes for me, I resist it, especially when it's coming from him. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. And
she comes around.
I come around. It takes me some time, but I come around and just have faith that, maybe there's something you're resisting, but lean into that trust, lean into the curiosity.
Where is life redirecting you?
Yeah. And lean into, like, maybe it's not your husband, talking at you. Maybe it's a version of you that knows you better and is talking through that vessel to get to you. You know? Yeah,
we always say that. My intuition is speaking through her right now back to me, you know, and that's how it goes. And that's why we've been making such an effort to connect with some like-minded people that we highly respect, entrepreneurs, parents, friends, musicians, all the people in our community to stay connected, to kind of have that voice, you know, and not to be kind of lone wolves, you know, to bring the connection, because humanity needs to be connected.
Yeah, and that paradigm is so Piscean, this whole lone wolf, and I'll figure it out on my own. It's just, it works better together.
Yeah, and I always say this, the most successful people on the planet know how to ask for help. And so if you do need help right now, if you are feeling, you know, the anxiety or the mental health things, you know, you got to ask for help. You got to, you know, call your friends. Well, I was feeling that earlier this month, and I called like my Dr. Raphael. I called a shaman friend of mine. I called my old mentor, and it was all kind of directing in the right ways. Like, slow down, simplify, cut out the coffee, more magnesium, zinc, you know, get the herbs in, the ashwagandha, you know, and those things really just, you know, and writing more, sleeping earlier, eating earlier, having breakfast, all these things really kind of just helped redirect me. And here I am, made it through the challenge again.
Yeah, especially when our food's being compromised, you want to make the extra effort to bring in those supplements that are going to give you more of that neuron velocity and that endocrine balancing nutrition, just so that you can navigate times of change and adjustments better. You have like a support network and an inner faculty that's getting, its vitality that it needs, that it's not necessarily getting due to some, whatever the story.
So we'll wrap it up with that. We want to remind you that you are a badass.
You are a badass.
We want to remind you that no matter how difficult things may seem right now, that the difficulty is the blessing, and it's going to take you to a new direction, a new space that you cannot imagine, something even greater, some even brighter future.
Yeah.
That that you're not, again, like not a bad entrepreneur, not a bad parent, that you are actually an incredible entrepreneur, incredible parent, that you have the strength, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the courage to pivot and stay in your prayer.
One thing that you always say is, what is this perfect for? So looking at the challenge, looking at the, whatever is the restriction, and asking, what is this perfect for? Knowing and trusting that whatever comes at you is not an accident, right? And only because also you can handle it. You can handle it if you trust and listen, not just here, but with all of it, with the whole inner faculty.
So it is.
Aho.
Thank you for listening. This is episode 2, and we hope to come back and keep doing this. So thank you for tuning in. So far, we're calling this the
Portal to Bloom.
Thank you.
Sat Nam.
Sad Nam.